So this week we read Matthew and Leviticus. And these two, I'll say this combination was unexpected in my mind. Now, granted the complete story is important when you go from the ultimate sacrifice, the complete atonement, to this is how you
atone.
Yeah, for any given number of things. It just was, I'm gonna say, surprising. The working backwards, I guess, maybe is the way I looked at it. And it was just like, I don't know. I kind of wish that maybe we'd have done it the other way.
Yeah, I think the order in which the chapters were set, definitely could have been different. But finishing up Matthew, and if you make the connection of atonement, right?
Yes.
That's the big one. But also seeing how like the nation was established, right? Like a lot of the things we read in Leviticus this week was, some of them were just like keeping people healthy. Right?
Yeah,
like
true.
like there was steps in order to keep people just healthy. And then there's also like celebratory stuff and ritualistic stuff and remembrance stuff and sacrificial, atonement stuff. So it's a hard book to read.
Oh yeah, oh my goodness.
It shows kind of the a lot of history stuff. Like I mean, there are chapters in here where you can read and you're like, some of the stuff sounds like it's present day, right? Like food preparation, right? Like kosher food preparation.
Yes.
Is basically from the book of Leviticus. And
Mrs. Super Oz, what is the first question?
What are some of your rules for relationships with other people? What are your do's and don'ts?
the book of Leviticus is full of rules.
Well, it's true. It is full of rules, but it's funny. I guess I don't really put rules on others. I guess a rule of thumb I'll say for myself that I've garnered over the years is not putting people on pedestals. So when I was younger, I felt like I kept falling into a trap that I didn't even realize until years later, where when I would perceive someone as my best friend, I would then inevitably find that things fell apart. And I think a lot of it came down to the idea that I was placing too much of my own, I won't say happiness, but like I put too much into my thoughts of others. And when I did that, how could they do anything other than not live up to some lofty expectation that they don't even know that they're being placed, or that's being placed on them or within their grasp. And so I, with that realization, stopped considering anybody my best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's easy. I miss a Super Oz my best friend, but it's true because we do everything together. So but it's also completely different than the idea of in middle school thinking, oh, this is my best friend, and then when they get a friend that they spend time with getting hurt by that type thing, or other ridiculousness. And I think that you realize this about me, that I feel like you and Josiah and Brandon and countless others are close friends of mine, but in no way do I put any of you on the same level as Mrs. Super Oz, because my general approach when it comes to relationships is, it's gonna sound weird because I always think it's ridiculous when I say it, and often I get pushback from it, but I tend to think that I take more than I give. I don't like that. I'm not like saying, oh, I'm so happy that I feel like you bring more to the friendship or relationship than I do. But I think the reason I often default to that mindset is if I'm aware of what I'm getting, then I'll be more vigilant because I don't want to take advantage of whatever the relationship is. And so I think that's part of why that I am always on guard to not be the taker.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying, too much so.
Yeah.
By you just being here, I feel like I owe you something because, well, and I understand and appreciate that, but, you're doing me, in my mind, a favor because you don't have to do this. You could, watching a game, any number of possibly more fun activities.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, this question is interesting because I also don't, like you said, it's a weird way to, analyze a friendship or relationship, but I do think there's certainly, expectations of how you want a relationship to go, right? I mean, you can probably hit, a bunch of the big buzzwords like respect and kindness and genuineness and being trustworthy and dependable and all that stuff, and there's for sure that's true. I mean, I would not consider myself to be a very close friend of someone who maybe I can't rely on,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or who I know is going to, misuse information against me. I can't be honest with them because I don't trust them, type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there's just inherent values that we want in a relationship. I also think it's super important that we need to be the thing that we want in other people, right?
Mm.
So if I want trustworthy friends, I need to be a trustworthy friend.
Absolutely.
If I want friends who I can count on, I need to be someone people can count on, and all these other things, right? If I want close relationships that do not bring me down or are negative influences, then I need to be a positive influence in other people's lives, right? So
Yes. And you are,
yes,
in my opinion.
yes, I do think sometimes the requirements that we have for people sometimes are, and I'm gonna say this very generally,
Sure.
are probably not what we're willing to require of ourselves. Right? So what I just said, right? If I want to be the person, if I want people of a certain characteristic, then I need to emulate that.
Yep.
I can't expect that and then not do it, right?
Mhm.
So I can't set these rules for a friendship if I'm not willing to also follow through on those same rules. Right?
It's funny. I am very willing to let people slide on many things. Like, let's say, expectation of time. Let's say I realize somebody is habitually late. I just adjust what time I tell them I want them to arrive to fit with what I know will be according to their capability. And so, although the weird thing is I would never do that for myself. If somebody said, oh, come at 2 o'clock, I won't come at 2:30 because you said to come at 2 o'clock. As a matter of fact, at church, we've had this conversation where they got so used to people showing up late, they tell people to arrive early for no reason other than they expect them to be late. And so now I just stop trusting them when they say when to arrive, and I'm like, I will get there at the proper time, not the time you told me to arrive, because I know what you're actually doing now.
For anyone wondering, we start at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
That's awesome.
But if you're on time, you're late, in my opinion.
Right.
Because I know that it's stereotypical to say the Army taught me that, but it's the facts. Like, if you're on time, you're late, and if you're early, you're on time.
Preparedness, right?
Yes.
And good seats. You get good seats.
Absolutely. Pick your prime real estate. What is question 2?
Do you have any deal breakers? Is there anything that will utterly destroy a friendship or relationship?
I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
I really don't want to talk about this. Oh my goodness. It's complicated. What do you say?
I guess we can skip it.
No. So let's just say this in general, right?
Yeah.
We do have deal breakers. Right?
Of course. I think everybody does.
That's right. We all have deal breakers. We all have lines that we're not willing to cross, and some of those lines are good, right? So if you have a firm belief in something, and a friendship, a relationship, whatever, is drawing you past that boundary, and you say no for a good reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's good to have those deal breakers. It's hard to understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to push. It's hard to push an absolute no off the table, right? Like, if something happens in your life that is an absolute no, and you're witnessing it happen, it is hard to look past that in the future. Should that friendship come back into a more prominent place in your life, man, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard, and it's
Everybody just, granted it took years, but everybody just was like, oh, we gotta restore this relationship. It's like,
how.
yeah, it's so mind-boggling. But in the idea of the family trying to keep the relationship and then the struggle of keeping the friendship, it's like these things are very perplexing,
Right.
because they're so jarring. The what was, and then what is, and now where are we at now type settings.
It's odd to just kind of brush a non-negotiable off the table.
Of course.
It never happened. It's weird that that's how people react.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to deal with the pretending it never happened, or we're just going to move past it,
Mhm.
versus actually dealing with the problem, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of these questions about relationships and rules and non-negotiables that are out there, we should have these standards, right?
Absolutely.
We should hold these standards really firm, and not allow sadness and heartache and frustration, and not allow that to just be brushed away like it's nothing.
Of course.
Because there's really actually no healing in that, right? There's no healing when things are just forgotten about,
Yes.
it never happened, and we can just move on and have this relationship. Let's go back into our text that we read, right?
Yes.
Everything that the Israelites did needed atonement.
Yes.
Right? The unintentional and the intentional, the personal acts and the group acts, everything. Imagine if God told Moses, well, some things we can just kind of let go.
Right.
And we can forget about it and we can move on. You're like, wait, what?
It'd be so. It's such a disconnect.
There has to be justice, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying wiping a civilization out all the time, or having a punishment not fit a crime or fit a sin, right?
Yes.
But if the God of the universe was not justice, if there was not justice behind his entire character, right? He's
Yes.
100% justice.
Yeah.
If things were just glossed over and the Israelites could do whatever they wanted, and they only had to atone for certain things, and other things just got kind of pushed aside, it would be chaos.
Mhm.
I mean, let's fast forward to today, right? When justice isn't followed, it's chaos and anarchy.
Of course.
And when things aren't made right, the next time it gets worse,
Yes.
right? So
Good point.
if there's not an atonement for sin, or if there's not a forgiveness offered, or if there's not an apology, when people are seeking forgiveness,
Yes.
it's crazy, because then people are off the hook,
Yes.
right? And the Israelites could have been off the hook without any of this. And although their story gets way worse, right? This is God trying to establish the nation.
Yes.
He's trying to establish order in his chosen people. He is setting them apart from other groups of people, other nations at that time in that area.
Mhm.
Nations that didn't do proper sacrifice, nations that didn't have high priests intervening, nations that didn't have a holy place to come worship. He's setting them apart.
Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long, available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much more, but most importantly, the story itself.
from everyone around them. And part of that specialness, right? Part of that selection is atoning for things that you do wrong.
Right.
Because God is justice, and He requires justice, and He requires payment for things that need payment. So, in the human interactions, man, it's real hard
Yes.
to not seek the justice or not seek the apology or the remorse of
Yes.
something. Very, very hard.
So there was a time in the past where me and Mrs. Super Oz weren't together. It was a very short time, but it was one of those periods where you're not sure if you're ready, basically. And there were a couple of folks that made moves. And it's funny that when that occurred, I took both attempts very differently. Because one was kind and thoughtful, and the other decided to treat me as though I'm a villain.
Okay.
And both of these people I thought were my friends until I learned that one was only using me as a means to an end to get a desired outcome. And so my point is, when trust is broken, it's that just ended the entire friendship, because while we weren't dating, we were still communicating, if not daily, then very close to daily.
Right.
And when she had shared the information of that it had occurred, I was like, oh, well, it turns out that this friendship is not what I had perceived it to be, which was interesting, especially given that every friend of mine, or ours, I guess I should say, had questioned me continuing to be friends with this person up until that moment. And then I said, well, turns out we aren't friends, because he was always abrasive, I'll say, for the gentlest of terms. And when, you decide to talk ill of me to attempt to get with her, it's like you didn't have to do the first to try the second. Like, it was already proven by somebody else that wasn't required.
Yeah, I feel like trust probably is maybe the biggest one,
Mm-hmm.
the deal breaker, right? Because when we kind of break down some boundaries and we are trusting of someone, whatever that looks like, right? Like, you just decide to be friends with someone, or you're sharing intimate details or personal things about your life or whatever, right? You choose to date, marry someone, all these things.
Yeah.
When we can't trust someone, it's almost like we feel like the idiot for allowing all these things to be said or
Of
be
course.
done, right? So I feel like trust is probably a big deal breaker for a lot of people, because it's like, it really stinks when like information is misused, or we feel like an idiot because we decided to trust someone, and how hard is it to gain back trust too?
Exactly.
I think that's probably a big one too, like why trust is a big deal breaker for people, because once it's gone, it's so hard to get back, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could be friends with someone or a close relationship for years, and they do one thing that breaks your trust, and it takes such a long time to get back to, if it's even possible.
I was going to
Get
say, my
back
thing
to
is,
the previous way. Yeah.
once a certain line is crossed, in this case, attempting to tear down my character to raise yourself up, I was just completely done. Yeah, so like I said, there are just certain areas where it's like, all right, and we're done.
Yep.
What is question 3?
What grace have you given to others that you wish others would give to you?
I would almost flip that question. What grace have people given me that I should have given back to them? Right? I feel like that's more appropriate, right? Just the recognition of how many times I'm an idiot, right? And how much grace I get from people and how much understanding I get. And man, like, the times when I don't extend that to that same person or to another person, kind of like a pay it forward mentality. There are plenty of times when I'm getting grace that I don't deserve from someone in my life. I mean, I can think of conversations I've had with my parents where I was just a jerk. Like, not yesterday, but not when I was 5, right?
Mm.
When I was an adult, thinking I knew it all and I was a jerk, and because they're my parents, they love me, and are able to just kind of look past that, and even if I don't apologize or it takes a long time or whatever, conversation I've had with my brother, my best friend, it's like, man, that just didn't go well, and for him to just kind of, again, like not totally wash it away like it never happened, but recognize that there are probably many times where I've given grace that I want someone to give me, but I feel like it just feels more likely that it's the opposite, that I'm a jerk and someone extends grace, or someone is just loves me enough to forgive me.
Before I talk about examples that have permeated my life of both people looking out for me and vice versa, I want to say how that I like when you're a jerk. And what I mean by that is it just makes you feel
What a green light.
like a well-rounded human. Because oftentimes I see you as, I don't know, an example.
Okay.
Right? But then when I see you have human moments of a frustration or irritation, I'm like, oh wait, you are just like the rest of us. You're a guy who's struggling, but doing what he can to stay on the right path.
Follow me around for a full day.
It makes for entertaining times, I'll tell you what. What I'll say is on the idea of people giving when they don't have to. There were a lot of lean years in my life where I'd have friends who were well off. I mean, well off's the wrong word, but they were doing all right. And I had this friend who was on the channel, Alan, or Corduroy Brown is his stage name. He just gave me, I think, $200 one time because I was on hard times, and he was like, "Oh, I'm good. Here, you have this." I was like, "I'll pay you back as soon as I can." Well, a while passed, but eventually I was able to pay him back, and he said, "Oh, I don't want you to." And I was like, "What do you mean you don't want me to?" He was like, "I don't need that." He's like, and well, it gets better. He said, "I want you to give that to somebody who does need it." And within the hour, a coworker shows up and he's stressing how he doesn't know how he's going to pay a speeding ticket. And he tells me how much it is, and I was like, "Oh, well, this is," I mean, it wasn't quite $200, but I was like, "Oh, here, I got you." Yeah. And he was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, he's like, "We're not even that close." I was like, "Yeah, well, I got you." And so the idea of, like you said, paying it forward, or in the case of the question, bestowing something to someone that was given to you, I was like, oh man, I literally have lived it multiple times. I can also remember when I was deployed to Iraq and my mom was taking care of all of my finances. I mean, obviously I couldn't really pay AT&T or, whatever the case may be. And so at one point, my sister needed help with a gas bill. And I was like, I ain't use that money, she's just sitting there doing nothing. And so, made sure she kept the heat in the cold. So it's but without my mom's help to keep things balanced out, or whatever you would call it, paid, then I wouldn't have had the luxury of saying, oh, I don't even need that money that's just sitting there, getting the interest or whatever the case may be. And so, yeah, like you said, there are so many examples throughout, my too close to 40-year-old years on earth that I don't want to acknowledge, where people have, done kind gestures. And I mean, even the idea of when I worked in TV, had it not been for somebody who already had a job vouching for me, I know I'd have never gotten the job. Yeah. Because just him saying, oh, I've worked with him, he'll be good, got me the interview. Now, I got me the job by acing the interview, but the idea of getting the interview wouldn't have happened without somebody standing up for me. So, yeah, there are so many examples where people, even not even realizing it, I guarantee you, they're not trying to go out of their way to make an impact, actually do make an impact.
I think of this week with it being like relationships and rules and boundaries and ultimately kind of moving toward forgiveness.
Yes.
Only in Christianity are people forgiven regardless of what we've done, right?
Yes.
Like through Jesus we are forgiven for all of our vileness, right? So when we see someone who deserves mercy and grace and we don't give it, we are basically slapping God in the face because we value His mercy and forgiveness on our life, knowing how bad we are.
Yep.
Yet we don't extend that. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I'm not like this is not a everyone else would. I'm guilty of this, right?
Everybody does. Well,
But there is something so different about Christianity, who Jesus is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have to actually be good first, then be forgiven, or we don't have to offer the right sacrifice and then be forgiven. We're forgiven, bringing nothing to the table except our like sin, debt, and our depravity. He forgives unconditionally, and then tells us to go do the same to others. There's a parable in the New Testament about this, which I love. Rich guy has a servant worker under him who owes an enormous amount of debt, right? Financially would never be able to pay it off. So the rich man wipes the debt clean. The servant goes out to the town, meets someone who owes him a minuscule amount of money, and comes down real hard on him,
yeah.
and is not willing to wash away the debt. The rich man hears about this servant's decision with this other person, and throws the servant in jail. He's like, I wiped away everything, and you can't wipe away something so small.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a parable for
Well,
Jesus to us and us to others.
Exactly. I was about to say, you say you love it, but to me, it's one of the most convicting concepts. What'd you say?
Maybe that's why I love it.
Well, probably, but what I mean is, like, I want to think that I have it within me to adjust accordingly to, oh, I know you're going to be late, and here's this, but how long until I don't, right? I know I'm not infallible. I'm going to, at some point, cut ties and be not as forgiving as I ought to be.
Yep.
And it bothers me to know that I have that within me. The idea that it's like, you know better, dummy. What are you doing?
Yep. And it's a reminder. It's a reminder always. What the Savior did for me, yet I don't do for others. How much I actually need the Savior.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Right? Because there are relationships that need to be mended and forgiveness that needs to be offered, and there was been times where I pulled things out of the relationship too quickly, right? Because someone did something I didn't like, and it rubbed me the wrong way, or whatever. And yet, Jesus says, "There's nothing that you could do that I can't forgive. There's nothing you will continue to do that I can't forgive. Like my forgiveness covers all.
Yep.
My atonement covers all. If you believe it counts for you, you're a child of God."
Well, and I forget who asked, but somebody asked, how many times should I forgive? And it's like, what, 7 times 77? Yeah.
Which doesn't actually mean 400.
Well, it just means a lot.
Right?
Yeah, it just means
it means unlimited.
Yeah,
right?
keep going.
It's just the constant restoration of relationships, knowing how much we've been forgiven for.
Right.
Right. Holding.
Ugh.
There's value to holding lines on people, right? Like, and maybe not enabling something that's hurtful or destructive, but man, I feel like sometimes we're just too quick to penalize people when we could have been penalized far, far worse
Right.
the first time
Absolutely.
something happened, right?
Yeah.
Good week.
Yeah. But thank you.
It's been a pleasure.